Hello everyone, this is Ray Space in Realism Overhaul Sandbox in Kerbal Space Program 1.12, where I am going to try to recover the Petal Launcher. I fixed the heat issue that was in the previous video with it, and hopefully now it is ready to go. I've even put parachutes on. The Petal Launcher, for those who didn't watch the previous video, is a launcher specially designed to launch really long ships. So this in the middle is the ship, the payload that it's trying to launch, and it wouldn't be very good to try and put it on a regular rocket because the fairing would be ridiculous. So we have this. This is to, well, there's a different kind of ridiculousness, but it's better than a really tall fairing. It looks much better. So we've got that going for us. It's got this cylindrical section here where I've placed the parachutes. 24 of them seem to be enough. At least that's what RealShoots says. And yeah, we've got them ringed around there. Good thing we have this to place them. Otherwise, we can't really place them on the pedals because if you put them on the pedals, they don't go along with the animation. Speaking of the animation, I also had to add a COM shifter, a descent mode, because otherwise, normally when it's retracted like this, the center of mass of the Petal Launcher is up here somewhere. But obviously when it does the animation, the center of mass has to go down, not all the way down, but down here. And so I've added a descent mode thing in order to make that happen. So we have that adjustment as well. I've fixed the heat issue. That came down to the fact that Realism Overhaul was overwriting the heat tolerance of the Petal Launcher. Basically, if you use needs Realism Overhaul in the Realism Overhaul patch, then Realism Overhaul will overwrite it. But if you say for Realism Overhaul, then it won't overwrite it. So I switched it back to 4, and that solved the problem. So just using the normal HRSI tile heat tolerance, it seems to be okay. So I've already tested that the heat tolerance is alright. I have not tested whether the parachutes are enough, and also whether the additional parachute mass is going to cause problems for us to get the desired payload, 160 tons, to orbit. So let's find out if that's going to be an issue. Once again, we are using the Bola boosters. There are other booster possibilities, but I'm sticking to the boosters from Block 2 of SLS. Well, they exist, so might as well for now. They seem to work. And stage those separately. Alright, so here we are, and we are going to go into a low orbit. I know somebody had mentioned that we probably should be going to a higher orbit with the nuclear stuff. That's fine, we'll do that later. The reason I'm going into low orbit is so that I can deorbit the Petal Launcher quickly. Otherwise, using the RCS to deorbit it, it takes quite a long time to do that, and this is all for demonstration purposes. In the future I can toss it to I-orbit and we will just assume that it comes down safely given the parachutes and all that, as long as we've tested that that actually works. So yeah, that'll be fine, but for now I don't want to spend so much time RCSing it down. So we are going to go like this. We go. Let's just get the view of it. There it is. It's not a bad looking launcher. I mean, you know, the gaps are weird, but still. They're weird, but then again, that's how boosters are too, so not unprecedented. Well, the clock clearly started early. I'll have to take a look at the boosters here in order to figure out when to separate them. Okay, thrust tail off. And that's good enough. Well, okay, we don't have any sound again. It's all quiet except for the hum of Chatterer, actually. Chatterer is making that machine noise that you hear. Okay, it has reached orbit. Extending the petals. Separation. Switching back to this. And firing the RCS thrusters. Alright, like I said, it's gonna take a while, so is warp. And let's see, the effective descent mode. Again, this is just allowing the center mass to follow where the center mass ought to be. There's no actual mass shift except for the arms themselves. Okay, that's definitely good enough. I think I'll also dump fuel this time. Just like halfway. I feel like the problem with the engine plumes and engine sound, well, I mean, we see the plumes, but we're not hearing the sound, is probably related to the fact that the RCS isn't showing and also making this particular sound. I'll have to see. It's the whole business of having RCS and engines on the same thing, I think. Okay, encountering the atmosphere. Well, it's glowing a bit. We are in the dark. This is basically the altitude where it blew up last time. Okay, it's finally finished firing the RCS, it sounds like. But then again, it's deviating. No, I don't like that it's deviating. Maybe the parachutes have thrown it off a little bit too. Well, we've got some re-entry effects from Firefly. We are slowing down pretty well. No sound associated with that either. And yep. Basically 7Gs, 7Gs. On the deceleration. Well, I'm gonna arm the parachutes. Seems to be straying away from retrograde. The parachutes will ultimately solve that problem. So maybe I want to put them at the bottom end more so that it actually lands on those bits instead of landing on the tiles. When you think about it, maybe landing on the tiles is the worst situation. I'm not sure. As you can see, just as we are without the parachutes deployed even, we get to about 70-ish meters per second. It does have a lot of surface area to help it slow down. A good ballistic coefficient. Okay, pre-deployment of the parachutes. Well, some of the parachutes. I don't know, is that all of them? Were some of them misconfigured? I swear I tried to make sure. Oh, those were supposed to go out. Oh. Only 4 seem to have gone out. Uh-oh. No, why? Those were armed. Well, 20 meters per second with just 4 apparently. It survived that. But... let me see what went on. Well, it survived. And, you know, if all the parachutes popped out, we would have gotten a better splashdown speed. So, there we are. What happened here? They're in 12-way symmetry. Why did only 4 pop out? Yep, see? 12-way symmetry. Is it because of editor extensions? I feel like it's because of editor extensions and that not really working with real shoots. I don't know, that's just theory. I can't figure out why, when they're in 12-way symmetry, thanks to editor extensions, why they wouldn't all pop out in that case. It only seemed like 4 were actually out. But it survived. Anyway, the point is that we can deliver our payload to orbit. Why don't we check out if it can get to 600 by 600 if I undersupply it here. Let's just do that much, with the parachutes available, of course. If it doesn't work, then we'll need better boosters. Boosters off. Oop, tilted in a bit too much there. And it's quiet again. It looks like it thinks that it doesn't have enough right now. 300 meters per second more we need. Well, really, that can be accomplished with more efficient boosters, I guess. Maybe I need to make a Terran R, which would have the kind of thrust that we need and the better efficiency. And potentially be recoverable. Should still fit in the slots, so that should be fine. It would sort of be better maybe if it did 2 separate burns to get to 600 by 600 instead of going direct to 600. If it stayed a little bit closer to the planet and then boosted to an 600 by 200 orbit and then boosted to a 600 by 600, that might be better than what I think it's trying to do right now. Also, I guess I didn't tell it that it can throttle. Okay, well, yeah, not a good idea to try and automatically stage like that. We had a disaster. No, let me just try and launch it myself and see if I can do it. Okay, none of that. First SAS on, throttle up, and ignition. And launch. Off we go. So we're gonna try for a 2 burn to that orbit situation. Alright, boosters up. And quiet. Well, now I can scroll down and click on Chatterer. So yeah, it's this environment thing we can turn off. So, but I prefer to have some sound anyway. Might as well. Alright, well, we're right at 201. Let me give it more thrust. I want to start going down, really. Okay. Well, we have 395 left to round it out. Let's see. It depends on how long we take to turn. Could be a while. Also, the RCS isn't ideally placed for settling down the fuel on this launcher. I might need to revise that. Okay. While I can light the engines, I might as well light them. There we go. 700 by 620 without any problems. Plenty of leftover if we wanted to get to like 1,000 kilometers or something like that. I think it's doable. Deorbiting, we can use the whatchamacallit, residuals, right? Okay, stop. Because this leaves 1.15% residuals, and this isn't counting the residuals in its 250 meters per second. The residuals will be enough to deorbit with the RCS. The RCS can use the residuals, so I don't think there's any problem with that. But just in case, we can say that we'll stick to this kind of altitude. And it looks like I'll have to launch it myself unless I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to tweak ascent guidance to understand this two-burn sort of orbit. I'm not too sure. It does have the options, I know, somewhere in there. It's got something, I'm sure, yeah. Wherever it is. Right, yeah. We won't deal with that right now. So anyway, it can get to this orbit. It can be recoverable if even if the parachutes don't all pop out, apparently it can survive the 20 meters per second. So we can do that. It's not going to burn up anymore. So with all that, with the Petal Launcher now in service, for better or for worse, I'll say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.